I think the criteria are different when we're Muslims. And also that kind of by default means that we're not going to find them as easily on social media or at all on social media. There were like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 of us who knew each other. What were we doing? Of course, it was in the night time. We was chit-chatting, cracking jokes, yeah. What does he do? He gets up, sits in the corner on his own to do his hifz. He's like, I got to do my hifz every day.
This kid that I used to go into his house, we used to play video games, and he was like, dude, I want to make video games when I'm older. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Oh, and then I look at all the people that said they were going to do that. And I find that guy, bro. Dude's got his own video game studio. Like, he's making games, bro. The real effect of an impact of role models is actually seen in person, day to day, following everything. Because a sheikh might be delivering something on YouTube and you only see the 10 minutes or 30 minutes of that, and that's it. And that's your assumption of him.
Exactly.
You don't know what he does when you're with him all day long and see.
Yeah, you see him with his kids, fulfilling. You see him when he's in the
absolutely.
shop. This discussion comes up about, you know, should women be put front and center, right? Should they be giving lectures in front of everyone? Should their lectures be filmed and put on YouTube? Should they have, you know, all these social media and putting their face out there? Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Mind Heist, episode 177. One of the two.
177.
Yeah, bro. So I had a topic.
Hot topic.
Not so much hot. It's a remix of one of the first episodes we ever did.
Muslim media, man. I remember saying
that was like number 1, I think, right?
Yeah.
So this was number 2.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Nope.
I think it was role models.
Oh my God. So exciting. I would be a role model for my younger self now. You know? Think about it.
Because there's a lot of talk about we need Muslim role models, we need good role models. Where are the role models? There's no role models.
They're on YouTube, bro.
Not to bring him in again, but where's the Muslim Andrew Tate? You know, you hear all this. I don't know what we said on that first episode about this topic, but some people would say, we just need the Prophet ﷺ, he's our role model.
Yeah, some would say that.
Would you say that?
Always, I would say that, but also you need someone to, unless you've got that knowledge already of the Prophet ﷺ and the ahadith, and you've memorized all the ahadith and stuff. Most people haven't, so they're going to need someone to deliver that knowledge to them, and that person who delivers it.
Yeah, so it's not enough just the Prophet.
No, it tends to be the person delivering it is who you kind of take it from, I suppose, and who you so when you understand it. For example, I'll give you an example. Sorry, but the Prophet ﷺ, you know, he was an individual, obviously, that existed, and at the time he was defined by his own actions. Now, unfortunately, he is defined by what the selective portrayals of his actions. So, for example, you'll have, you know, the liberal-minded focusing on the softness and the, you know, gentleness. And I'm not saying that didn't exist, but omitting the more sterner side,
one-sidedness of view of things.
Yeah, and then you've got the, you know, maybe the other side of that spectrum who are focusing on the I don't want to say harshness, but you know what I mean, the more sterner side, the more disciplined side, the more, you know, authoritative side. But there's a spectrum, and there was, you know, is a nuanced individual, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the perfect way. But depending on who you listen to is depending on what you gauge.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't have, like, it's very tricky, bro. Even, for example, you're making YouTube videos and you're even the podcast, you know, if you're at any point talking about, you know, any issue which relates to fiqh and a right and wrong thing, you know, it's like you could follow a certain view, and you even know the dalil for that view, and you might not even know another view exists, and you just say that, right? But there are other views, right? And there might even be, like, for example, this is a good example, I heard it in the khutbah today. So what do we always say? That the common narrative is that Allah will forgive everything except shirk. Yes?
Yes.
With the dalil that what's the ayah? In Allah yaghfir al-dhunuba jami'a, right? Was it الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله? Is it in Allah or is it Allah? Allah yaghfir al-dhunuba. Yeah. Anyway, people can help me out with that. So this is very well, like, I feel like it's common knowledge, like Allah will forgive everything but not shirk. Yes.
Yes.
Now in the khutbah today, the sheikh was trying to, explain how of a big deal murder is, killing a Muslim. Yes.
Yeah.
And the ayah about killing a Muslim, من قتل مؤمنا متعمدا فجزاؤه جهنم. So he goes to Jahannam, خالدا فيها, forever. وغضب الله عليه ولعنه وعد له عذابا أليما. Right, I believe. So these 5 things were mentioned about the one who kills a Muslim purposely. Yeah. And he said Ibn Mas'ud considered that the one who kills a Muslim purposely, he has there's no tawbah for him.
Right.
So this is an opinion which we might not know about. General knowledge is that everything can be forgiven except shirk. But now there's an exception to that with Ibn Mas'ud's view, right? So that's an example of something where we could easily just throw that on the podcast, right? But there are other views, and we might present it as though there's no other views, and etc., etc. So without full knowledge, it's hard to really be nuanced.
Yeah, I mean, even what you referenced earlier about Allah forgiving all sins apart from shirk, that's generally where the conversation stops for a lot of lectures. But then I've realized there's some individuals who take that and think, oh, I've committed shirk before. Oh my God, my life's over. But the continuation of that is Allah will forgive shirk if you repent from it.
Yes.
But because people only hear the first part of that kind of story, so to speak, they're missing out on an element of nuance there. Allah will forgive all sins if you repent from them sincerely, but Allah will forgive sins with possibly even if you don't repent apart from shirk. But that's when I say don't repent, as in you might have forgot about it, or you have a remorse for it, but you might not specifically ask Allah for forgiveness for that particular incident.
Yeah, or the Prophet might intercede for you, or
absolutely.
Whatever. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you're saying that we follow the Prophet ﷺ, he's our role model, but then the people that deliver his seerah and his hadith, etc., to us are like the teachers and the scholars and stuff, and so they might become our role models.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but how often do I pick up, like I've got a certain amount of volumes from Sahih Bukhari, for example. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. Bought them years and years ago for like £5 at the masjid, and it's not the full set. I don't really know but I used to pick them up occasionally, just read some narrations and stuff. But how often does the average Muslim do that, to pick up, the books of hadith and read some narrations, as opposed to listening to a lecture or a khutbah in Jumu'ah and then hearing the sheikh deliver that? I'm going to give you an example. It's quite a timely one. You've been to a khutbah, you've heard the sheikh speak today. There was a khutbah last week, and the sheikh of that particular masjid was praising the Queen and God Save the Queen, and they're singing the national anthem in the masjid. So that's just to say, like, depending on where you get that knowledge from, or those khutb from,
yes,
it depends on the flavour of what's going on and where you're going to get it from.
Whether it's the salted caramel or the double chocolate
course.
mousse.
And we've seen those old school sort of YouTube lectures that are all fuzzy and 360p, and they're smacking the table, and do you know what I mean? Like,
unless you're Muhammad Hoblos, in which case it's 1080p.
Well, but the thing is, that's a very good example. Muhammad Hoblos, he draws from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, of the narration, and I might butcher it, but you can correct me, that when he used to preach the Prophet ﷺ, it was as if he was warning the people of an army that's about to come over the horizon, so to speak, and his eyes would get bloodshot red, and he would be very, I don't want to say aggressive, but obviously stern. Very stern, exactly. But when you go onto Muhammad Hoblis's channel and look at those YouTube comments, it's like, oh, why has he got to shout? Oh, why can't he just speak? Do you know what I mean? We're talking about hell. We could talk about Jannah and Jahannam here. We're talking about the Adhab al-Qabr. We're talking about the punishment of hellfire. We're talking about real, we're talking about the only thing that actually matters in life is trying to sort out your hereafter. But
your eternity.
Of course. But then you'll have the people that, the softer stuff more. Now I get it. There is elements of, the Prophet.
It's also the target audience, bro. Like, and this is the ultimate problem, or one of the central problems with like putting it all on YouTube is everyone will watch it versus in his masjid at that time, it might have been a lot of young guys.
He already has a relationship with.
Yeah, and who react quite well to that delivery. But imagine if he was in a room with all like 70-year-old men, 70-year-old women. Would he be able to even keep that up? He might start out fiery, but be like, wait, this is just tone deaf.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So this is the issue as well.
Well, that's why it's so important for Muslims to just take 2 seconds to think before they comment on a person's delivery when actually the Quran and Sunnah is still being followed. And it goes back to, I don't want to bring up what we spoke about the last episode and the episodes before that, but all of those things, the criticisms that were coming out of a lot of these endeavors by Muslims is actually because they weren't the right target audience.
Yeah.
We watched a critique on Telegram earlier where we shared it. If you want to join the Telegram room, you're going to miss out on half the podcast. It's all on there. But no, feel free to join. But we watched a critique, obviously, of the Badr Club that we already spoke about. And the brother in there, he was saying, some of his critique was like, oh, but if I was doing this, what I would want is something for my mind and something for my mental strength and something for my... Yeah, okay, well then it's not for you then. It's for the other person who doesn't need that, but he needs this. So it's one of those things where it's like, and we spoke about it actually again, some of the shuyukh you listen to them because their delivery suits and appeals to you. I listen to Mufti Munir a lot because his delivery and his the way he delivers it is... But I do. And I don't know why, but that's something that just resonates with me, just that delivery.
Yeah.
But also, I then noticed that his demeanor, the things that he holds dear to him, then become things that I start trying to adopt in my life. Like I am emulating him.
You started martial arts.
Bro, I started drinking teas and, do you know what I mean? I want to get me one of those sort of, what are they called? Those, I don't know what they're called, bro, but maybe I need to look up.
Chinese, Japanese.
Yeah, those kind of outfits, bro. One day you might see me just rocking up on a podcast here on. Yeah, hold on my
Very
books,
nice.
baby.
Very nice.
Yeah, man. No, but see, it's interesting, isn't it? Well, who are your role models, I mean?
Well, the thing is, I find it hard to swallow this idea that, your role model's the Prophet, and then and then it's like, well, the scholars, and that's it. Like, yes, I believe, Yani, it would be great if we all had role models who are scholars, definitely, because they are, out of everyone else, they're then the most knowledgeable of the conduct of the Prophet ﷺ, and therefore we're going to get closest to that ultimate role model in that way. But at the same time, firstly, not everyone is gonna that won't appeal to everyone. They won't see, and I feel like we need to see Islam being practiced sometimes, not preached. Yes. Okay. So, for example, if I let's say a lot of Muslim men, they want to get into business. They realize that they hate their job, or they're unfulfilled by it, or it doesn't pay well, or whatever it is. They dream of having a business. I mean, which sheikh is talking about business? If he talked about business, he'll get shut down like, oh, this is capitalism, brother.
Materialism, yeah.
And there are some who kind of go into that a little bit, like maybe Joe Bradford a little bit, or like Sheikh Tawfiq Chowdhury a little bit. But I think for a role model, if a big area of my life might be that I want to start a business, I want to become independent of having to have a job, I want to see someone my age or older than me who's doing business, and I could just see a little bit of how he goes about it, how he thinks about it, just have a chat to him about it, you know what I mean? Or when it comes to parenting, or whatever it is, Yani. So I think there's definitely, not to say we shouldn't follow the shuyukh and have those as role models, because in general, conduct and manners, they should be a great example for us, no doubt. But then there should be others, I think, as well, right? And maybe, I think sometimes there's a criticism that, the shuyukh, why are they overweight? They're our role models, but, they're all overweight and they're this and they're that, right? Maybe that's a bit too much to expect from them all, right? And so we could have the sheikh that we follow, we get inspiration from, and especially the conduct and the manners and this and that we take from him, and we might have someone else who's just like a guy, maybe he's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than us, and we just see, wow, like that guy's 40 years old, he's got kids. I'm just a little, like, few steps behind him. He's still in shape. He's still doing this. He's doing that. And it's like, yeah, let me make sure I end up, like, at least in that position. You know what I mean? Yeah. A little bit of in the trenches kind of view of living life.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like toxic masculinity strikes again when it comes to those kind of comments. I don't know where this, where do people draw their kind of inspiration from? What is the ideal man? What is the ideal role model man for people? Now, there is a disconnect because there's this online world. Everything is just, the online world isn't the same as the real world, yet we judge the real world by the online world. Therefore, the real effect of an impact of role models is actually seen in person, day to day, following everything. Because a sheikh might be delivering something on YouTube and you only see the 10 minutes or 30 minutes of that, and that's it. And that's your assumption of him.
Exactly.
You don't know what he does when you're with him all day long and see.
Yeah, you see him with his kids, you see him when he's in the shop. Yeah.
100%. And also, like, I think I mentioned it before, and I could be wrong about who said it, but I believe it was Sheikh Albani who mentioned that he believes that anyone with expertise in a particular field should lend their time in the masjid to deliver even a khutbah about their particular area of expertise to benefit the Muslims. They should, the expert should have a session, like a lawyer should come in and speak about certain legislation that might benefit. A doctor should come in and give the advice on health benefits. Even an employability coach should come in and do an employability session. All these kind of things. Firemen should come in, fire safety and police officer come in, crime prevention, that kind of thing. So the things that would help and benefit the Muslims, and then those people then in and of themselves and become role models for those particular areas. So yeah, absolutely. I think there should be more of that, but whether it actually happens, Allah knows best. I think a lot of activity has shifted online. I think, and it's easier to consume that. It's easier to get your fix of being just, put the podcast on or listen to the lecture while you're at the gym or whatever. And yeah, I must admit, I haven't been going to the masjid that much because I've been so busy. But then when I'm thinking of, where do I need my fix? I need my fix. I put YouTube on, listen to something while I'm driving to such and such a meeting or such and such. Do you know what I mean? And it's not good enough, but I assume a lot of people fall into the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And do you have friends that you might call role models?
Good question. I think when you have friends that are around the similar age, I think there's a balance where you have to admire some of the things they have that you haven't got in terms of characteristics and stuff. Yeah, you should admire that and aspire to be like that. But you also be prepared to advise them as well when there's things that you feel that they could be improving on. Yeah. And I think that's the balance, because what can happen is with an older role model or, like a sheikh or something, you might be like, oh, it's all good, and your subconscious will believe it's all good, even if they're making a mistake, because you wouldn't necessarily know. It's like that almost starstruck attitude. They can do no wrong. And that's not because you're deliberately making that decision. That's because your subconscious is just telling you, oh, they're so much more smart than me or whatever. Everything they do must be right. When actually a sheikh might have all the Islamic knowledge, but then when it comes to like business or whatever, they could be making, but just because we have that in us, whatever the sheikh says, we basically take on board. We can't always see when the sheikh is stepping out of their expertise and making an opinion as opposed to like a shari'i judgment on an issue. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why listening, being exposed to different shuyukh is good, because you can kind of eventually just see the pattern and be like, okay, he does that, that's wrong. No one's perfect. Okay, move on. You know what I mean? And that comes down to like, I don't know, like even there are some, what they call them, workshops, seminars, let's say. I've attended some of these weekend seminars, and this is a bit like of a particular thing, right? But when it's lunchtime, they get like the pizzas out or the biryani out, and it's like a pretty bad lunch, like health-wise and just for like energy levels. And you see the sheikh there, and he's like eating everything, and he's loading it up, and it's just like, sometimes it's like, oh, okay. But then, but I only might think of that because I went to another seminar with another sheikh, and what was he eating at lunch? He had raw broccoli. He just eating raw broccoli, and like some grapes, right?
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? Or even the little details of, we you know, it's lunchtime, so we're going to pray dhuhr, right? And you just see the sheikh when he's praying his sunnah, you see how long he spends in sujood, and it's like, okay, interesting. So it's that real life stuff. But the point I was making is, you really, yani, if you're exposed to enough shuyukh and people of knowledge, you can't start saying that they're perfect. You start to see certain things, and you just start you just be like, yeah, okay, they're not perfect. Like, you know, the area that most commonly they will be, you know, very advanced in would be their knowledge in whatever specific field. And it might not always be like every field within Sharia sciences, right? But in the field, you know, maybe they memorized Quran, they studied all the basics of all the different sciences, but then they might specialize in one. Then they might have certain good like manners, right? Conduct, because they studied like the seerah and the conduct of the Prophet ﷺ, and their teachers might have trained them on that specifically. And they might be good at studying, you know, they've spent so many years studying. But then when it comes to like diet or parenting, like they might be weaker in that, and that's just, I feel like it's just normal. Just normal.
No, of course. Yeah, and I think you just have to be, it comes with age that you recognize this, definitely. Because maybe when I started going to the masjid, the sheikh at the time was the age I'm at now, you know, and similar anyway. So when you reach an age where you're starting to, you know, you now are a parent and you now see what kids are like and stuff, then you're like, okay, I see, I can, like now I can look at a parent and be like, yeah, that's not right. Like, why are you doing that? You know what I mean? My son, my oldest, is obviously like 5 years old. So I can kind of start making judgments of parents that have kids that are maybe younger than my son. And I'm thinking, oh, I wouldn't have done that, or I would have approached it in a different way. But that just comes with age and experience, ultimately. And going back to what you said, if we take it even further back to the Prophet ﷺ, there were certain things that are sunnah, yani recommended acts that you should do, but also things that were just part of the lifestyle, and there isn't necessarily a religious connotation to it.
Yeah,
exactly. So you have like, there's that narration of one of the Sahaba eating I think it was like some sort of lizard, wasn't it?
Lizard,
like
yeah.
Baba, yeah. And I think he offered it to the Prophet ﷺ, and so Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he didn't want to eat it.
Yeah, right. People don't eat that.
Exactly, right? So someone could have taken that and been like, oh, I ain't never eating this again. Put it down.
Yeah.
Put it down. That's it. Prophet ﷺ didn't want to eat. I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he continued eating it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. I think it might have been Khalid bin Walid. I think, because I just heard that story a week ago or something like that. And they were bringing it up because they were working in Saudi, and one of their students gifted them that lizard, you know, to eat it. I think it was live. Maybe he gave it to him live. Delicious. And he's just like, dude, what am I going to do with this? I'm not eating this.
But there's a lesson there, isn't there? There's a lesson that there are Sharia rulings that are very clear cut and very, you know, halal and haram. And then there's the personal preference of the individual that could also be an opinion on a mubah issue, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you have to follow.
Yeah.
So, but when you're young and impressionable, like how many times do you, and I think the only reason I use reverts as an example is because a lot of them are a clean slate when they come into Islam. Okay. So they'll come into Islam and then they'll adopt not only the deen, but also that particular dress style of that particular country that they've taken. You know, like for example, they might start wearing South Asian clothes, you know, start, I don't know, speaking a lot of Urdu, for example, just because they're in that area, in that environment, and they're adopting it all as if all of it is Islam, when actually a lot of it is Islam, but some of it is just that specific culture. Just because you're wearing that doesn't mean you can't wear this. Yeah. Right? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So we all have that. And I think we all find ourselves with time, you know.
And that I guess that comes from role models as well. Like, you know, some of the young yani Muslim British brothers who are very into like seeking knowledge, they start wearing thobes, but they're like Pakistani, right? They come from Pakistani background, but they wear thobes. And why is that? Well, it's probably because the shuyukh that they look up to wear thobes. So they're literally modeling them, like literally in what they wear as well.
Well, yeah, or even the red and white shimar, which I didn't realize has so much history behind it. Quite controversial history sometimes if you look deep into it. But yeah.
Explain, what is the history?
I can't remember now, but I remember it was controversial. Okay. I can't remember exactly.
Something to do with blood.
It was something to do with maybe the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire, and it was more of a military garb specifically for those individuals that were fighting against the Ottomans. So it was like so it started out as like a military thing,
right?
I believe. I could be wrong. Someone correct me. I need to do my research on it again. But when I was reading on history, because somebody basically called out some sheikh that was wearing it. I won't say who. Obviously, loads of people wear it, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Someone called him out and had linked to all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know." It's interesting though, and Mufti always says that, doesn't he? He says like, "Look at the history of these things that
you'll be shocked."
You'll be shocked.
He always says that, bro. It gets me every time. He's like, if you look into the history of the Apple logo, you'll be shocked.
Do you know what? If we ever get Mufti on, which I think we kind of attempted to, but I don't think we worked hard enough to do so. And we are relatively connected. I mean, you've had him on before. You've had him on Sierra Masters before. Yeah. And I'm close friends with some of his students. But if I ever was to have him on, I think that would be the topic. Would just be give me those things that, you know, the history of it is actually what's fascinating. You know, because he's always saying you'll be shocked, and then he has a habit, mashallah, of always saying, "Oh yeah, we spoke about that already. Go back to that episode." I'm like, Sheikh, I can't go back. You've got like 1,000 videos. How am I meant to find it? Do you know what I mean?
That's part of the culture he's trying to create. It's like even the way he titles his videos. It'll be like Bulugh al-Maram 371. Like there's nothing like hadith about this topic or just the name of the top. No, it's like you have to do the work. You have to sift through. Yeah, we're not making it easy for you because this is the hadith disciple way. And because 100%. someone who studied with him told him that like can't you just title the videos? He's like, no, this is on purpose.
Yeah,
it's all part of the plan.
100%. No, but honestly, I think that would be fascinating because there's obviously some obvious things that always get mentioned, like the history of the Christmas tree, you know, the history of the Easter egg. Like, where does that come from? You know, but then there's sometimes I hear him say things like, "Why do you have what was it? It was like something for breakfast." Like breakfast itself, why eggs for breakfast or something like that. Yeah. And then it kind of made me, I was like, having my eggs, and I was like, whoa, what am I doing?
I was thinking of some pagan ritual.
Yeah, I'm like, is this some pagan thing? What's going on? But it's true. There's elements, isn't there? There's elements to everything we do that originated somewhere. Actually, saying that, I was reading this book, which I mentioned earlier, Blood and Faith, The Purging of Muslim Spain. Dude, how much of our North African culture comes from Spain? It's insane, from the Moors. You know, some of the stuff that like they would do, like the henna, you know, the henna for okay, for example, you're North African. When they have what do they call it? Tor, yani circumcision and all of that. I've got old videos of me when I was a kid, bro, and they're putting like a circle of henna on my hand and henna on my toe and henna on my finger and all that stuff. Yeah. Dude, where's that come from? Where does it come from? Like, I don't know. But then I'm looking here, I'm reading the book, and it's the same thing. They're here as well. Oh. In the 1500s, or late 1400s and 1500s, that's what the Muslims in Spain were doing. That's what the Muslims in Spain were doing. And other sort of practices like Mawlid, but there's certain things they do for those practices.
Yes, you know, certain ways of celebrating. Yeah, okay.
Certain ways of celebrating. Yeah. Which the Spanish or the Christian Spanish conquerors or whatever you want to call them, grew to dislike, grew to try and eradicate and to Europeanize the Muslims to the point where they had nothing left.
Did we get that from the Muslims in Spain, or did the Muslims in Spain get it from us?
Well, that's it. I don't know, because the story starts when they're already there. I mean, this book, for example, starts. The beginning of it is basically, and the Muslim Empire fell. Like, it doesn't really go too much into how it was prior. It kind of just says, and then he gave the keys, and then we go into what happened afterwards. But yeah, it is interesting to find out because it goes back to where those origins come from, for all of our practices, right? So yeah, it's fascinating. It is fascinating.
I think.
Go on.
I asked you about if you have friends who are role models. I'm just thinking about it like, I mean, sometimes the word role model is like a big deal. It's like, I want to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone thinks about their friends like that, but certain of my friends, like, yeah, I look up to them in that area, it's really interesting because they're my age, they're my, whatever, similar income, similar amount of kids, whatever. But it's like, he's doing sick in that area. That means I can do it because he's doing it. He's similar situation to me. And it's just like, yeah, so I can do that. So it's like inspirational kind of thing, right? In the area, like, for example, of Hifd, or in the area of even like one of my friends, like just the way he is with his kids, he brings his kids everywhere. And he's quite like chill with them, like just leave them to do whatever they want. But I see the fruits of that, I see how they act and how mature they are.
Yeah.
And so these are kind of things without, like, I don't know, some people might say, oh, that's not role model. Role model is like, you want to be that person. But, it's little bits of inspiration here and there. And I guess that's the beauty of like good company and stuff, right? Like you'll inspire each other and it's like you compete in good. And
yeah, I mean, a lot of it is very subtle, isn't it? But think how overt it was with those that listen to music, listen to particular rap artists, like as soon as, bro, like we spoke about this many times on the podcast, you watch a movie, you want to be that guy. So for the rest of that week, you're that guy. I'm the main character of that movie now. I'm going to perform as if I was him. I told you about that story when I was a kid and I watched Fast and Furious. It was either Fast and Furious or Riddick. Anyway, it was Vin Diesel. And I was like, dude, his voice is so deep. Like, I need to get a voice like that. So I Googled it. I Googled how to get... And for like a week... For a week, because all it said was to get a voice like Vin Diesel, you need to practice speaking in a deep voice all the time until it becomes normal. So for a week, I was like, hey, mum. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. So, but yeah, dude, like, you're very young and impressionable. So no doubt, the way we dress, the way we, like, maybe not so much now, but definitely when we were younger, the way we dressed was by some sort of role model.
Yeah.
I mean, trendsetters were those R&B artists, the rap artists, etc. They would wear a particular thing. I mean, remember Kanye West's ridiculous sort of shades?
Yeah.
The stripy ones from like the early 2010s or so.
Yeah.
Everybody was wearing those.
There's a lot of fashions, man, like the whole backpack.
Yeah. But where does it start from?
Phase. Yeah.
It starts from.
I mean, probably starts somewhere. You'll be shocked. One of those ones. It probably starts somewhere where you'll be shocked, and then people like Kanye take it on, right?
I think so. It starts in like a dark room with a candlelit seance.
With
everyone is holding hands
with a goat's head. Yeah,
right. Sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, man. I remember some of these fashions, man. I'll tell you something weird and funny. So I was in the UAE. I was like 15, 16 at this time, and like we were in the UAE, and it's like a British school. So a lot of the kids they're from the UK. Like their parents came, they got a job in UAE, and they put their kids in the British school. And so some of them have come from the UK, and they're bringing like the UK culture. And like we were a bit isolated from this. Remember, like you can imagine, like the internet is pretty much just starting, like social media anyway.
Yeah.
So they brought this like certain brands. Like I had no interest in brands, no knowledge of brands even. And so they came with the whatever was good, like hot at that time. I think it was like Evisu jeans, Evisu, like it's a Japanese brand.
All right, cool.
So that was like big. And then it depends obviously what kind of clique you fit into. But there was Evisu jeans, and there was Echo, the skate kind of
style
stuff.
I know that one. Yeah.
So we used to go to Dubai together, and like, bro, I didn't know nothing about this stuff, but my friends were buying this stuff, so I would just buy it as well. It was all fake though, so it wasn't expensive, Yani. But I used to feel like, yeah, this is sick, but I didn't even see celebrities wearing it because I wasn't even following celebrities. It was just like, yeah, that's the brand,
100%. Dude, like I said, we even the things we say, like I just said, dude, where does that come from? Like it came from my upbringing and the role models I had. Do you know
Bro,
what I mean?
I have an intense American influence on my how do you say it?
Vernacular.
Culture, I suppose. Yeah. Not just vernacular. Like I just know a lot about the US versus other countries, like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I think it's because a lot of the business content I consume is American, because you know the US, like the capital of business and stuff. So that's where it comes from. But I was laughing because you said like these like rappers or whatever, they come with the whatever, they push brands and they push a certain look. And I remember that Nas lyric where he's like, Gucci this, Fendi that. It's like, okay, let me buy that, let me buy this, and let me be like Nas, you know?
I do think the culture shifted a lot since we were younger, because like the content that, but once again, I preface this by saying that algorithms have changed the game. You know, algorithms now put you in an echo chamber where you don't know what's out there. Like you think the world's a particular way, but then I could pick up your phone and have a look at your reels and your content. I'll be like, oh, your world looks very different to mine. You know, when I occasionally have to use my wife's phone, the content she's getting shown at her gives her a completely different worldview. Everything's flowers and roses and, you know, girlies. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like the world's a pretty place. I look at mine, like, you know, let's just do a quick test.
What does yours bring up?
You know,
and then I'll tell you about mine.
So I've got, funnily enough, somebody's putting on some Morpheus sunglasses. So clearly the algorithm knew that's what kind of stuff I wear.
I feel like
everything else.
I feel like your
stuff
stuff would be like 50% geek stuff and 50% Islamic stuff.
Dude, like I said before, on the run up to like that Spider-Man movie, I was just getting Spider-Man stuff all the time, every time I open my phone. So the world looks very different. So in my head, I think the whole world's getting crazy for this film that's coming out, you know? And now I look at my phone, it's like, everybody's a graphic designer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's almost like there's no mainstream anymore. There are just sub-mainstreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the deciders of the mainstream were the TV networks.
Yeah.
So what you would put on there and what you would see is what you would set the bar for what everything is.
Yes.
But now everybody's got their own mainstream. So for example, I go on Twitter and a lot of algorithms and a lot of timelines shifted to this. It wasn't a chronological order. It was we're going to show you what you might want to see order. So Twitter, you can change it now. You can go between chronological order or I can't remember what the other option is, but where they just show you what you think that you might want. When you do that, bro, you just see a lot of Muslims with the same mindset as you, very critical of bid'ah, or critical of, you know, this particular weird thing, whatever. Somebody tweeted earlier how incredibly shocked they were and realizing how much they were in a bubble in this online Muslim scene when they started seeing Masajid singing the national anthem. They were like, what? I didn't think any Muslim would ever do this. Like, this is insane. Look how many Muslims are here. Look how many Muslims are queuing up to see the coffin of the... Like, they were basically flabbergasted, then realized, oh, wait, I'm in a bubble. I'm in an echo chamber of my own thoughts here. And you can have a really positive view of the Muslims around you because you might think, oh, they're all like me. Look, they're thinking the way I am. That's what the algorithm is showing you. But if you're in another part of the world, so with another sort of outlook on life, you know, you're going to see the world in a different way. And that's the problem. We just see what we are online, and that's it. It just gets reflected to us. So it is damaging in that sense because it doesn't prepare you for the real world. So when you do meet somebody who may have a permissible but vastly different opinion than you react very like emotively, like, oh, you're insane. You must be like one in a million people who think like that.
Good point.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, good point. Yeah. And you know, with this issue of role models, a lot of people, they say, you know, this discussion comes up about, you know, should women be put front and center, right? Should they be giving lectures in front of everyone? Should their lectures be filmed and put on YouTube? Should they have, you know, all these social media and putting their face out there? And one of the reasons they say is we need good Muslim role models, like for women, for girls, right? And that's like, you know, that's the justification. And they're like, well, whatever, Nicki Minaj is out there and she'll be their role model if our daughters don't know any Muslimas. What do you think?
I agree.
Don't be PC, please, bro.
No, I agree in some sense. Like, you know, now that I'm married and I have a wife, and I can see the struggles of a woman, see the struggles of a practicing Muslim woman and what they go through. And then how excited my wife gets when she comes across some account of somebody who's actually posting really beneficial content that relates to women quite explicitly, that they can relate to. Like you can only listen to someone that you really genuinely feel like has been there and done that, right? And that was the issue with, I hate to bring it up again, I'll bring it up again, that was the issue with some of these courses, the Muslims brothers that were making these courses, right? Some of the criticism was, well, they haven't done that, so how can they teach me that? It's the same for role models. You wouldn't genuinely, like if I was to come up to you now, and deliver you a 6-figure course, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, why would I know you?
I don't know your finances, bro.
Well, you know me, bro. You know enough about me.
Bro, you mention your finances every episode.
Yeah, but support the podcast. No, but can you imagine, bro? It's about that. It's about identifying your struggle in somebody else who's been there and done
someone
that.
Who's just 5 or 10 years ahead of you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Why do why does Muslim CEO work? It works because the struggles that your clients are facing are struggles you may have already been through and overcome, and you can give them that recipe, that formula to overcome them. Your mentor should be someone ideally that's familiar with the arena that you're working in. When I first, I dabble in graphic design here and there, but when I first wanted to start getting clients and actually do this to some level of a professional level, I went to the first graphic designer I was close to, and I was like, dude, please teach me how to write a contract up or something. Yeah, he helped me out. So no doubt we go to the people that have been through it. And Muslim women, to bring it back to that, go through so much that we couldn't even imagine. Like, they are the targets of Islamophobia beyond belief. I was going to give an anecdote, but I don't think I should. But obviously, there's been experiences that my wife, my sisters have gone through, my mother, they've gone through, purely because of their hijab, purely because of the way they look. And that challenge for them is very, very difficult to overcome without support and guidance from someone who's doing it. It's very easy for a man to say, just put your hijab on. You're talking about, just put it on. It's just a piece of cloth. Come on. It's fard. It's just a piece of cloth. Do it. Right? You might not even have a beard, but he'll say that, But the beard and the hijab aren't the same. So even if you wanted to draw that correlation, like, look, we grow our beards, so does everyone else. Like, so does every other guy with a top knot and tattoos. Do you know what I mean? It's a fashionable thing. Like, nobody really looks twice. Is it a fashionable beard? Is it a religious beard? Who knows? But hijab is always a hijab, right? Unless you want to do something special with it. Allah knows best. But, niqab is always niqab. So
niqab, there's no way around it.
Niqab is identifiable. So, imagine being a Muslim woman without anyone to kind of be like, hey, especially in the online world. I mean, why do we consume online content? Because it benefits us. Because we maybe we live in an area where we feel disconnected from role models. We can't find them around us, so we look online. Maybe we haven't got time to find them. You could be a parent who's working 9 to 5, and then you come home, you're trying to raise your kids right. You just hardly any time to go out and find people.
Yeah,
right.
I guess the question is, it's a typical question of does the benefit outweigh the harm?
I think it's down to the women themselves to police themselves, just like it is for men to police themselves in a lot of ways. Like, we can advise, and we can, women can advise us, we can advise women. It's a two-way street, and I think, part of maybe a lot of grievances of women is that men are always commenting on women's issues, right? But some men have just the weirdest takes on women and how they should behave.
Yeah,
we've commented on that
there
before.
Are a lot of bad opinions in general in the world.
And vice versa, I mean, my wife came up to me earlier and she goes, tell me if this sounds right. And then she reads me this like mahar sort of expectations that this girl must have posted for wedding and mahar. And it was outlandish. And I was just like, yeah, that's kind of wild, but maybe that's what they're used to. Do you know what I mean? But this is it. Like,
See, she needs a role model to take a 0 off that mahar number.
Just knock one off for the mandem. Bro. I mean, what do you think? As you've asked me the question.
As a big, strong, toxic, masculine man.
As the guy who wrote the book.
About what? What do I think about what?
So what do you think about the question of female role models in the online world?
I think it's complicated, of course, so I can't give a straight up thing, because I don't want to be one of those people that are not like looking into the reality and just giving out a thing. I think the problem is, the default should be that women are not putting themselves all out there, their faces and everything out there. But then it comes, and then there's no, the only harm in that case would be that, okay, how do the women access other women even, and then also access role models? And I would say the answer to that is the same for men, in that ideally, really, bro, we should be looking up to people that we can actually speak to and see in real life, like in the trenches. So like, even to the level of the sheikh that gave the khutbah, for example, today, the khutbah I was at today, he gave the khutbah, and after salah, people went up to him, just sitting with him, chilling with him, chit-chatting.
Always, yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? This is where you see the real side, and also some shuyukh are very formal. They see it as a formal thing. I'm giving khutbah, blah, 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 Quran, sunnah, this and that. But when you sit with them afterwards, they'll be like, different, isn't it? I've even seen this, like, no, I can't say that, but you know, you sometimes you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked.
Who's your role model? Because I know what you've been listening to.
Sometimes, you'll be shocked, like what when it's no longer lesson time, the kind of stuff that shuyukh will say. Not that they're saying bad things, it's just that it's out of character for you, because you only know them in one position in life. But when they're a friend, when they're doing sports, when they're eating, they're different, right? Yeah. Not that they're one, like it's a hypocrite kind of thing, one way, this way, but no, it's just, you know, we act differently at work versus in the gym versus blah, blah, right? So that goes for men. That men, ideally, you know, we shouldn't be looking up to people who we only know a third of their life or 20% of their life. Ideally, it should be in person, where we see a 3D picture of them. And I say the same goes for women. So, and then it's like, okay, well, what's the solution to that? And I think for men and women, we need to put more effort into gatherings, local gatherings in person. Whether that's for pizza, whether that's for a ders, whether that's for sports, whether it's a camping trip, barbecue, whatever it is, we need to put more effort into that, because we need to see 3D images of each other. Yeah. Whether that's someone who's a potential role model, whether that's a friend, whether that's, I don't know, the beggar, right, in the street. We need to see the dimensions of people to really benefit and learn, right? To really benefit and learn. You know, like what's like a life-changing experience for a lot of people is going to Hajj, going to Umrah. And when you do that, when you travel with the shuyukh or just the people you travel with, you see their full dimensions, right? You see when they get sick, you see when they're tired after doing tawaf all those times. You see it all when they're hungry, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And you find out about yourself. There's a running joke among my friends that when I might have mentioned it. It was last summer, and I went to Scotland with some of my companions. But it was the first time like I'd stayed with them, you know, for a few days.
Yes.
And we realized I didn't really get on with them like I thought I did. And then I went onto some random mountain while they were at the beach, and I just sat on there for hours and left them. Honest. And we always joke about it now. And it was quite bad at the time, because I was just like, I am not like these guys actually, like I thought I might be. And I found out a lot about myself and found out a lot about them and where we're clashing, because my worldview and the way I do things was completely different. So you will find out a lot about yourself. But going back to what you said, I think my advice, first and foremost, and I always try and say this to brothers and sisters, my sisters and my wife and stuff, is make dua for those companions, first and foremost. Make dua for good role models. Make dua that Allah brings good people into your life, because Allah will bring those connections. And it can be really daunting, and you just think, how am I going to find these people? I want more friends. I want people that I can, you know, you might feel lonely sometimes in a detached society. You might feel lonely as the only Muslim in the village, right? But you have to ask Allah sincerely for those relationships, and your intention is the intention is to benefit and bring you closer to the Deen, and bring good people in your life. Second point is that we are speaking about this as if we are recipients. We want to have role models, but we need to be really aware that we are role models for people, whether we like it or not. Like at this age, especially, people look at you, I mean, and they'll say ammo. Like we're at that ammo age now. Coming into our 30s, you might already be there. Certainly, I'm 29 now, so I'm growing conscious of, number one, I've got kids. They're going to look at me as a particular role model. So I need to be conscious of that. And it keeps us in check as well. When I go into the masjid, the kids are looking at me like I'm an uncle now. I should be the one giving out the aid money, really. Right? So I think absorb that, adopt that, bask in that, and enjoy it, and try and offer some good. And at least that way, you're giving back. Because I actually, funnily enough, when I was in the masjid a couple of weeks ago, I came and sat down, and I realized the brother that was there, who I hadn't seen in years, was one of my role models when I first started practicing. He was like the vice chair of like the ISOC, FOSIS, actually. Remember the Federation?
Yeah.
So the Federation of Islamic Societies in the UK. He was like the vice something or other for that region. Essentially, like when I started practicing, bro, I was enamored. There were these role models. There were these Muslims that were studying some incredible stuff in the university, because we have 2 universities where I live. So you had a lot of people from all around the world coming, especially from the Khalij, from Saudi, etc., studying some really high level stuff, but also always in the masjid, always taking us out to eat after Jummah with the sheikh as well. Like that environment, like it was beautiful. It was a perfect environment for me to start practicing in, where I just wanted to be at the masjid all the time, because it was a hub for me to meet people, to socialize. I felt like I could learn from these people. So, I'd be at university and it was like, oh yeah, there's so-and-so, there's, brother so-and-so, let me go speak to him. Let me just follow him. Let me just be with him. Right. And they were very encouraging in keeping us close. And that was the thing. And then we set up, some of the elders set up what was it called? Young Ummah. It was called Young Ummah. It was a project where it was a bit of YouTube stuff. It was basically YouTube material, but it wasn't for the masses. It was for our community. Like the videos were directed to us. The people that were on there were people from our community. And they would organize events, they would organize like barbecues, they would organize whatever, and we all just wanted to be part of that. And I feel like that's died down a little bit, at least where I am, but I know it's thriving in other areas. I was in London maybe 6 months ago, and I went to it was some I can't remember the name, but it was like a Muslim youth club in the middle of London that I ended up at. And I was like, yo, this place is awesome. Like, I would have loved to have this when I started practicing.
Is that in Acton?
I don't know my way around
West London.
It has a particular name. Is it like maybe Yassine something? I'm not sure.
Oh, Yassine Youth. Okay. I've heard about that with the Sheikh, what's his name? Omar.
Hajjaj, is it?
Yeah, that's it.
I think so. So I think that's where I ended up. I think it was one of those, where can we pray? And that was the closest place.
Okay, mashallah.
But when I went in there, I was like, dude, this is sick. Like, I would love this when I was younger.
Yes.
Because it was like after Isha. So we prayed Isha, and then like I'm expecting everyone to leave. No, kids are just chilling there. It was like middle of summer, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. It was holidays anyway. But yeah, stuff like that, bro. So, keeping kids in the masjid because they want to be in the masjid, even if it is to socialize. My son is starting... very poignant. My son is starting like an Arabic kind of school tomorrow. So it's the weekend tomorrow, it's Saturday tomorrow, and he's going to start for the first time. And I went to visit this place actually for work. They had a function and my organization was invited, so I turned up. I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like, it was so impressive. The activities they have, after school stuff they've got, football clubs. And I was like, this is what my son needs. Because a week ago, bro, what did my son say to me? Oh, I can't talk about Quran at school because the children make fun of me. Like, that's what my 5-year-old said to me. And it just broke my heart, because I realized he already knows this divide between his house, what he can do and what he can be proud of at home, and his school. He's so proud of himself, the amount of surah that my wife's been teaching him. And I always commend my wife for that. Like the ilm that he's been learning, he's been memorizing Quran, and we've got like star charts and all this stuff that my wife's put so much effort in. And then to see all that enthusiasm and love for it get diminished when he goes to school, because nobody there is going to recognize that as an achievement, let alone care about it. It's heartbreaking. So he was so excited, bro, about this. I showed him some videos of it, and he was like, he literally said before he went to bed, I'm so excited to go to Arabic Club tomorrow. So it goes back to that.
So he hasn't even been, so it's a new thing for him, but he's still excited.
He's super excited, bro. Super
that says
excited.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so may Allah surround our children, ourselves, and all the brothers and sisters listening with good role models, because it goes such a long way, because you feel validated and you feel inspired.
Yeah. You know, if you, I don't mix with too many people. I feel like I've been very isolated for a lot of my life, right? It's only in the last few years I've mixed with more people. So I don't have too many examples to draw from other people, but from my limited experience, what I've seen now, for example, is where I live, we have a WhatsApp group. Any brother, I suppose the unifying factor is English speakers, right? So we have a WhatsApp group. If anyone's like going for a coffee, going to do this, do you want to do this? They put it in the group. Now that group is not a limited group of just close friends, maybe 3, 4, 5 people. No, it's everyone, right? Yeah. So it's people who maybe English is not their first language. Maybe they're not even from the West. Maybe they're 50 years old. Maybe they're 30. Maybe they're 28. Maybe they're 35. Maybe they have no kids. Maybe they have 5 kids. Very diverse. And that, I think, is good. That's a good thing, you know. Of course, naturally, the people who are closest in age and culture will come together maybe more often. But the fact that you're putting in that group and you're kind of inviting anyone in that group to come, that's good, because you expose yourself not just to that tight-knit group of friends that you're comfortable with. And I think something that has come to mind when I'm thinking about that and saying that now is that we view socializing, meeting up with friends as relaxation, recreation, enjoyment, yes, but maybe we can have part of that, but also have an intention where it's for development, it's for networking, it's for growth and learning, you know. And but you get that more when you're mixing with the people. You might not actively choose that specific guy, you know, that guy where if you had to directly text him and say, do you want to link up, it'll be like awkward, especially if it's one-on-one. But if it's a group and he's there and your close friends are there and everyone, it's like, it's different, you know, and that's real life. I feel, you know, it's you know, like when I'm in business, my clients are people that I might not be friends with, right? Yeah. Or my business partners might not be people I'm friends with naturally, normally, or the people I'm praying with, the people that I'm working with in my job. But this is life. We have to work with different types of people, right? So that's one thing that like comes to mind in terms of meeting up. Like, so I feel like people they don't have much hunger to meet up in person, because I feel like that thirst is quenched from just messaging on social media, group chats. Yeah. But it is not the same thing. Like I said, it's not 3D, it's not multiple dimensions. Bro, imagine that guy that you're WhatsApping, he could be in tears because of some issue. Yeah. You would see that in person. You would not see that on WhatsApp. That's just one example. Anyway, the other thing is that the other week we took the kids, and the kids here, they have a little halaqah thing where they learn a bit here and there, and they do football together. And this is organized, all kids similar ages, and there's like ammus, you know, organizing it. We took them to the beach. So this is another, you know, I was thinking this is an opportunity to, I don't know, be some sort of role model. Like I don't know, like I didn't interact with the kids too much, but you can imagine if we did that again and again, there would be some sort of something they might get from us. I don't know, bro, but I feel like that's the type of thing we need to be doing.
100%. 100%.
But it takes effort. It's not the type of thing, personally, I'm not used to that stuff at all. It's quite awkward for me. It's quite uncomfortable for me. I'm used to pressing buttons and making money like that. Like that's what I'm used to doing. Like just being at a computer and, you know, listen to audiobook and just press buttons and things happen. Yeah. But this is like quite different to that, isn't it?
But you've now, you know, and we've been in the podcast enough I've noticed that you've been valuing that a lot. Like we spoke to Sharif last episode, or the episode before, I can't remember, and we were talking about community so much, how he built that community and the activities surrounding that community. And I will see, like, I don't know if this was public or private, but I won't say who it was then. But there was a video on my Facebook from one of the brothers that organized or was part of organizing a sort of father's cookout. Oh, am I still there?
Yes, you are.
Oh, sorry, I was glitching. Yeah, so what they were organising was like the fathers would take all these kids, go somewhere where they had to camp, and then do all this barbecuing, and the kids were running around playing football and stuff, and it was just dads and their kids, right? And stuff like that. I've got a close brother who, you know, I meet every now and again when I'm going to London, always with his daughters. Like every time I look at his Instagram, he's just out with his daughters, he's taking them out bowling, he's taking them out, like these kind of things, right? So it's just developing that. And it doesn't have to be more difficult. Like I know you, like you said, you're not used to it. It doesn't have to be that difficult as well, because even just doing your everyday stuff with someone, you know, like I think back to my dad and his friends and what they would go out and do, and like his friend would call him and be like, "I need to go and buy watermelons." Do you know what I mean? Like in Tunisia, he'd be like, "I need to go to town and get watermelons. You want to come along?"
Yes.
Yeah. Meet me outside.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's it.
That culture is so far removed, from...
It's not like a motive or anything. It's not like, oh, we have to be doing something. Like there has to be a motive. I've never been like that, by the way. I've never been that guy to be like, well, what are we going to do though? No, like I just want to, like I will bask in your company. I don't need to be doing something specific. Yeah. But I think there are going to be people that they have to have an agenda to what they're doing, and it has to be like, let's go rock climbing, let's go fishing, let's go. It's not. I
think like it's that thing where I'm busy, life's busy, so my time's so precious, so I can't really justify buying watermelons. That's the vibe these days. Versus in Tunisia, especially rural Tunisia, it's like,
we're at a cafe all day.
Yeah, like we've been in this cafe for 6 hours. If I spend 1 hour getting watermelons, it doesn't make much difference.
No, 100%. But that was standard. You know, it was standard for my dad to go out early, like just after Fajr, or even before Fajr, go out while it's still cold, sort out all the business stuff he has to sort out, and then spend the rest of the day in the qahwa. And then maybe like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, come home, you know, and then maybe go out again after at night if there's like a football match on or something like that. But nobody ever questioned that. Never saw any of I never saw my gran or my aunt or my mum complain like that was do you know what I mean? It was just standard. It was standard. Yeah. And then I tagged along with that. You know, I just went out with him, and it was, you know, man. But yeah, subhanAllah. So yeah, I think it's important. I just got reminiscent about my dad, bro. Sorry.
It's such a different world, man.
Yeah,
it's such a different world.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. But yeah, bro, I think, you know, when you have good role models, and even you know what, even I feel like I'm gonna start crying. But sometimes you've got role models around you don't even realize they're role models. You know, that's why I say about my dad. Like growing up, we clashed a lot and stuff, and now he's like my greatest role model, because as a father, I am in his position now, in the same sense that he was just as fractured as I feel right now. You know, his family, his mother's in Tunisia, his wife is in England, his kids are in England, his sister's in Tunisia. Like, he was torn. And now I'm like, my wife's here in this town, my mum's on the other side of town, my sister's over there as well, my gran is in Tunisia, and they all, you know, I love them and I care for them and I need to be there for them. So I feel just as fractured, if not more, than he was. And now I'm like, oh, this is how my dad felt. Oh, so when I used to say this and this when I was 14, this is what he meant. Oh, so when he used to do that and that's why he reacted that way, well, look, I just reacted that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's just holding on, just learning the lessons from the people around you, even if you don't necessarily acknowledge them immediately as role models. You can learn something from everyone. Yeah. And especially, I mean, yeah, my dad should have been my role model when I was younger anyway. But when you're young and stupid and immature, you might not always recognize that, you know.
But alhamdulillah, I mean, because you were mixing with him, you were observing without understanding the lesson. But you can now understand the lesson because at least you were observing.
And that is the beauty, I think, because it's powerful. The way you put it just now, that's absolutely powerful, because the gems will keep revealing themselves.
Yes.
Even long after he's gone.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
100%.
I even think of, and again, this comes down to, I didn't have a smartphone, I didn't have internet, I was in Algeria with nothing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the summer holiday, this was it. Yeah. And what am I doing a lot of the time? I'm literally just sitting with a coffee and my uncles.
Yeah. 100%.
Just listening to my uncles. Or when I got brave, I would like start interrogating them. What about this? How was life like before? This and that. This again, like, would I call my uncles my role models? I mean, not really. But did I get like wisdom and benefit from them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They stay with you, bro. They'll stay with you. Like you brought that up. There used to be, you know, the siestas that people have, and you know, I don't know what they call it now. I forgot the word in Tunisia. But obviously, when it's really hot and everyone sleeps in the middle of the day, dude, I used to just be let out, like do whatever I want during that time if I couldn't sleep. And I remember being like 8 years old, 7 years old, just leaving the house, walking around the village, going to the local shop, like the local little, you know, whatever shop sells milk and bread. And I just used to sit there, and then shopkeeper will come and sit next to me. And then I remember, like, I vividly remember him teaching me about number plates, about Tunisian number plates. And then he used to go, I bet I can guess what the next car is going to be. Because we lived in such a rural area that actually, like, you'd see one car every 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'd be like, I bet I get. And I was like, how did he know? Obviously, he knows who lives around here and who's going to be driving here at this particular time. But little things like that, like just that, was, you know, some sort of guidance. And they always say, doesn't it takes a village to raise whatever. But it's true, you know, that you learn something from everybody.
Well, think about the mainstream way of living now. You just don't mix with people different to you.
No.
Kids are always just with kids, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Like people like me, I'm always with my close friends. Okay, yes, wife and kids as well. But it's a small group, limited group, versus what you're talking about. That is different. That's missing from a lot of people's lives. That's why as well, I just thought of Scouts. Scouts is amazing.
Oh yeah, there is Muslim
amazing.
Scouts nearby, actually.
There's Muslim Scouts in the UK. A lot of Muslim countries have their own Scouts. I don't know what the origins of Scouts are. You'd be shocked. I bet you'd be shocked. But
yeah, bro.
But they have, like, Algeria, there's Algerian Scouts, like the whole country of Scouts. Many countries, there's Egyptian Scouts. Scouts is sick. I was in Scouts actually when I was even in the UAE. I was in Scouts.
Wow, such a dorky thing to say. I'm joking. They get bullied though, don't they?
I'm not sure.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
I think you knew about American culture, man. Well, at least in pop culture, they get bullied a lot, but I'm sure it's really cool.
Yeah, all I know is we used to learn these random skills and go camping and go to the desert.
You're right. The kids did that at school. They got picked on. Like, I remember that. But then now
they're
older,
the Mark Zuckerbergs, bro.
Bro, not just that. Now they're the Bear Grylls of life. Like they survive in all these rigorous environments and have TV shows about it. And I'm like, I probably should have learned how to tie that sailor's knot.
Yeah, you know, I remember we went sailing once. Wow,
yeah.
We went sailing. Wow. Yeah, we did some climbing and all these things.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that shapes you, there, doesn't it? There's so many things that you learn along the way that you just don't take for granted at the time.
It takes an episode to bring it out. It takes some podcast episodes to bring it out. I'm remembering now, the only sport I did seriously was rugby, and we had rugby coach. Yeah, and I'm sure I picked up stuff from the coach. You know, the whole attitude of, like, you know, that like old school English attitude, or the way of speaking and being, You can imagine like a rugby guy, He's like, you know, you tackle someone. When you tackle someone in rugby, often you end up on the ground.
Yes.
So, you know, you tackle, you end up on the ground. He's like, why don't you get up straight away? You get up, you tackle, you get up, you discipline, don't stop, this and that, all this stuff. This is mixture of coaching, mentorship, role model, blah, blah, all mixed together. And definitely one area I remember, like, kind of, I could feel my discipline maybe, or my patience or whatever muscle growing, was from rugby, because I just had this thing with rugby is I don't stop running. I will run for the entire match.
Yeah.
Like I will fall over before I stop running. And because of that attitude, my stamina must have like got really good because I would just run like nonstop.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, you remind me, I was in the rugby team as well in year 8. And I do remember the scrum falling because of me. Although, do you know what? I know it's a side point. Basically, there was 2 Muslim boys, me and someone else, and we were both the only brown boys in the whole team. And basically, in that mess, when there's just legs and feet everywhere, and he was coaching us. He kept touching my foot and telling me to move my foot or something, but it wasn't my foot; it was his foot. It was the other brown boy's foot. And then it was something like that. Because he kept saying, move it, I basically spread my legs like this. I couldn't move anymore or something like that. And then the whole thing fell. And he had to go at me. And I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure like you were pointing at the wrong foot. But yeah, no, definitely. It brings me into another point because me and my mum were talking about this last night, funnily enough, for like hours. We got into the topic of like role models. And I was talking about how there was a certain point in my life where I felt like I needed one. And the only role model I had were these bloody mentors at school that actually really all they cared about were trying to get you to university no matter what it was that you were studying, you know? So there was this very like, yeah, just pick anything. Like, oh, you're good at that. Pick that. Why don't you do that? Okay, you're going to go to uni then. Pick something. Take out all this debt and all these student loans and do it. Go on, get out there. Oh, great. Well done. You got your grades. You're going to university. Sweet. Awesome. We're going to get, you know what I mean? We're going to get a pay rise. Like, because they wanted people to succeed. So they can say, look, our college got all these numbers and my class got all A's. And it wasn't about you as much as it was about the, you know. So, yeah, I do. There was this particular mentor I had that in retrospect, I'm like, you just made me do the worst thing possible for my life at the time. No, like sitting down and like I told my mum I really needed someone to sit me down and go career planning, like proper, because it was never about career planning. It was about just get to uni. At that stage, you know, I needed someone to sit me down and just talk to me about what I might want to do in my life and how I can get there, as opposed to get out the door. Like I said to you, the way I picked my degree was just like, I'll do that one. I just picked it just like that on the last day of the deadline. I could have done with someone there to guide me. Yeah,
even if you delayed the decision or until you had something specific that, you know, you were into or whatever.
100%. Yeah, if that was an option, I think it would have been. I always used to consider myself, because I grew up, you know, I'm born in July, end of July. So typically, like my birthday was always one of the last ones. And typically I was one of the youngest. And that means more at school than it does now in real life. So I always felt like I was a bit slower with development than everyone else. Maybe that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. But because I went to Tunisia and I went to school there, when I came back, I was lacking in a lot of things because I'd missed a few years or something. So I was always like playing catch up. So I always felt like everybody else knew what they wanted to do. Oh, he's going and studying this, he's going to do biomedical, and he's doing chemistry because he wants to be a doctor. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, someone help, please. But it's really important. I think that goes back to what we're saying. The Muslim community is speak to those kids at school that are at school, ask them what they're doing. And I remember people doing that. I remember older brothers doing that with the youngers and saying, oh, what are you doing at school? And it wasn't like, oh, why aren't you a doctor kind of thing. No, it's like real, you know, no, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to go? Oh, actually, you should do this and do that. That brother that I said to you, he was the vice president or whatever. I sat with him again and I was like, and I told him, I was like, you do realize like you were my role model, like back when I was at university, like I really looked up to you. And he was like, nah, bro, like, and I realized he's very similar in age to me. But at the time, it felt like a massive gap. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Like he was in third year of uni and I was in first. It felt massive. But no, he was, you know, and we shared some stuff. I told him some issues I'm having, you know, work and stuff. And he was like, oh, have you tried to do this course? Do you want to, like, once again, it's that networking, knowledge, the guidance. So do that for others, and may Allah facilitate for you. You know what I mean? To find likewise.
I just remembered actually there is someone, again, I don't know about using the word role model, but someone I looked up to, and now I don't really know where he's at in life, but I don't know if you've heard of him, Zahid Fattah. They might call him Sheikh Zahid Fattah. He's Algerian, and he's younger than me, but I just remember like when I met him at FOSIS conference or something they do every year. I met him there, and he's doing 2 degrees at once. So he's doing a law degree and he was doing a Sharia degree at the same time. And I believe he's Hafiz as well of the Quran. And anyway, now he's like, you can Google him and you can search him on YouTube. You find he has got lectures online and stuff.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I just remember being so impressed by his dedication and his discipline. You know what he did, bro? There was one time in Green Lane. It was like a conference in Green Lane, and you could kind of, we were sleeping there, I think. Like it was like a multiple day thing. So there were like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 of us who knew each other. What were we doing? Of course, it was in the night time. We were just chit-chatting, cracking jokes, yeah. What does he do? He gets up, sits in the corner on his own to do his hifz. He's like, I got to do my hifz every day. So it's like he didn't even make it an exception to like when we were doing this weekend thing. Like, no, it's like,
I'll delay it for,
And I remember that now, years and years later. I don't know what he's doing. I'm not really in touch with him, but I remember that. And he's younger 100%. Than me, and he's like, and I was like, yo, that's sick. That's next level. Even, you know, like Ustad Abdurrahman, he's not even that much older than us. But look what he's achieved.
Abdurrahman Hassan?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Look what he's up to. Look, you know what I mean?
But I think what's even more inspiring is the people that were your role models when you were younger, having goals, and then seeing them like 10 years later achieving those goals.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the presidents. Actually, I think he was like president of entire FOSIS at one point. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But he started out as the president of our local ISOC. No, the ISOC or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And he kind of worked his way up. And I remember early on, like he was like, yeah, one day I want to go and work for the UN. Like that was his mission.
Okay.
And like now, and then I asked this brother, like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in years. Like, what's he doing now? He's like, oh yeah, he's working for the UN. I was like, okay, sweet.
Okay, yeah.
But it was more about like, dude, like that's what he said he was going to do, and now he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like I went exploring LinkedIn recently. There was people from school, like just kids from
LinkedIn
school,
is next level in that way.
Bro.
Somehow it links you.
When I was there, bro, there was this kid that I used to go to his house. We used to play video games, and he was like, dude, I want to make video games when I'm older. And everybody said that, right?
Yeah.
But he was like always talking about it. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Oh, and then I look at all the people that said they were going to do that. Oh, he's not doing it. He's doing this. He's doing that. I'm doing this. And I find that guy, bro. Dude's got his own video game studio. Like he's making games, bro. And I messaged him, man. I was like, yo, I know it's been like 20 years or something, but I'm so happy that you did it. Like you did what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And I find that incredible. It's so inspiring. So yeah, I love that. I love seeing that.
Just remembered as well, you know, Salah Sharif?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember I met him at, it must have been a Sheikh Akram seminar. I used to see him, you know, sometimes in a Sheikh Akram one, sometimes Sabil, sometimes this and that. So I saw him and I saw, okay, yeah, he's like, seemed quite serious about this, and he would always be studying with Sheikh Akram. And now he's like, seems very advanced. I mean, I know he's got his PhD in law. He's got his like editing and translation business and stuff.
Yes.
He's studying actually full time in Egypt now as well. So yeah, I didn't think of all these people, but they're coming out now. Wow.
It happens, bro.
MashaAllah.
Even we're seeing youngers achieve that. Like there was this brother maybe 5 years ago, local young brother in the masjid here. And me and Musa came to visit. We went in there, and he comes up to us. He goes, "Oh, I really want to like go and seek knowledge. Like I want to be the imam one day of this local community." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome goal, dude. Guess who's the imam of my local masjid now? The one down here." Because I still see him, and I still see him. He's really young, and he goes, "Oh, guess what? Because he went away to study.
Yes,
he's come back.
Yeah, I
don't know if he's completed his studies or whatever. And then the long-time imam in town told me, actually, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get brother, I won't say his name, but brother so and so too." And I didn't know who he was talking about. I thought he was talking about someone I didn't know. And when I saw the young brother, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be at your local mission. I'm going to be the imam there. I'm going to be leading salah and doing the khutbah there." And I was like, "Dude, that's amazing." Do you know what I mean? Like, I was so happy for him. Yeah. So take that as inspiration. Don't take that as feeling
But so all these are people we know in person, and we kind of saw them. We saw their early days, right?
Yeah.
And if that's the problem with the whole online thing, is you're seeing the final product. That alone maybe is not a problem, right? But again, you're seeing one dimension of them, and also you're only going to discover the people who are good at the things that the social media platforms, prioritize. Okay. So, for example, Andrew Tate, he got really big. A lot of people looked up to him and stuff. And what is it? It's the profanity. It's the lavish lifestyle. It's the
edginess.
How do you say it? Polarizing opinions. No doubt it's other things as well, like the fact that he's good at articulating himself. If you don't have these things, you're going to be disadvantaged, even if you would be a good role model, like a much better role model than Andrew Tate. The same goes for the sisters. Let's say a sister would be a great role model, but she's not good looking. Is she going to go far on the thing? No, serious, bro. Okay. She will not do well on social media just because of that. So now she's a good sister. She's not wearing makeup and stuff, but she's not getting out there because people are attracted to certain things. Even sisters are going to pay more attention to someone who's more attractive, someone who's putting makeup, someone who's putting filters.
She could be giving you like a lecture, and then the sisters are like, "Oh my God, her skin is so clear."
Wallah.
Do you know what I mean? Like those kind of comments.
Wallah.
But we do that too, bro. Yeah. Come on, let's be real. Like we see a sheikh giving a lecture and we're like, "Rah, bro, he's so built, mashallah. Look at his beard."
Yeah. No,
we do that all the time.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying whatever it is that favors either the algorithm or just engagement, people's engagement.
Yeah, 100%.
For men or women, you'll find if you look at all the top followed people, they're going to be generally good-looking people. Yeah. Simple. It's a very visual kind of platform, right? So we're missing out on those role models because they don't fit the criteria of the social media platform, not because they don't fit the criteria of being a good role model.
And the content isn't what the platform wants. Like look, I sent you some articles, obviously, about Instagram trying to do reels and stuff. Dude, reels are hard work. You used to be able to just post something or like a picture and put a quote in it or whatever. Or back early YouTube, you could just click record, say what you said, and end the recording, and people would watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you have to think about retention. What point, like split it up into chapters.
There needs to be a cut every half second.
Yeah. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, B-roll, zoom in, zoom out. Like, dude, people can't do that.
Who's going to be more capable of doing that? The wise brother who can teach you XYZ about amazing character and parenting and whatever, or like Andrew Tate, who's got like a whole social media team.
Bro, obviously there is no B-roll and jump cuts in a khutbah in real life. You know, the world doesn't look like that. But no, really, like the real world, like we consume knowledge in this edited, engaging fashion with the humming and the this and then that. Imagine next Jum'ah, bro, shit comes up to the masjid, bro, comes up to the mimbar, and then someone else comes up. And everyone's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Well, hey, this is the kind of stuff you want, isn't it?"
And then they get
start zooming in and out to do those jump cuts.
Wait, what's that thing called? In a concert, the big screen behind the stage.
Oh yeah.
It's got a name. Okay, I don't know what it's called.
Get some laser lights in.
They need to get one of those behind the sheikh with like the B-roll on it.
But I know we joke and that, but like realistically, that is it, because you're going to have people falling asleep in the masjid because they're so used to particular content, and I see it so much now because the content is shifted to this quick scroll, flipping 5-second quote, skip to the next thing. Just reels have just decimated it, and I'm sure people said that about TV, and I'm sure people said that about early YouTube. Like every generation is going to have something it complains about, but I think it obviously gets progressively worse. And this culture of TikTok, Reels, Instagram, whatever, for me, it makes me ill. Like I can't do it for more than a couple of minutes, maybe less, before I'm like, oh, I feel awful. But then I tried TikTok recently for graphic design stuff. Dude, like everybody like my stuff's like 12. Do you know what I mean? And then I read that article and I listened to Ali Abdaal did a nice interview with MKHBD. I forget his actual name. I always Marquez Brownlee. Yes. And
Come on, bro. We're both geeks, bro.
I sent it to you. But he's early days YouTube. Like he's around my age anyway.
One of the first with a million.
He was a tech review on YouTube, and naturally he's in a niche that will always grow. Like so, that's the benefit he's got. He doesn't, and he mentions that about like he doesn't have to think too deeply about how engaging the content is because the products he's reviewing they themselves are engaging enough to carry that.
Yeah.
Right, but it still means that he does go into how he makes his videos and stuff. But he was asked. Ali asked him. You could see that Ali was so much more concerned about content and how I can keep up, and I have these issues, and because his type of content can go irrelevant.
You have to make it exciting. It's
self-development, productivity can just be irrelevant like that.
Yeah.
But tech is always evolving. You don't have to do much. Oh, look, I got the new phone. Want to check it out? Look, I got it before you do. Let me show you.
Yeah.
Right. So, what I wanted to say is, he was asked about TikTok. He was asked about creating content like that, and he was just like, "Look, my audience are like people mostly that are my age and older. Like I'm from a different era of YouTube." He goes, he dabbles in Reels and TikTok and stuff, but it's very firmly in people that don't actually even have the disposable income to get this stuff, right? To buy phones because they're still kids, and that's who it appeals to. And it does concern me about the future, and like, is in-depth and nuanced content going to sit well with a generation that has grown up on 10-second clips? You know, do we have to really adapt? Like people have already started doing it, but Islamic knowledge and stuff online, like adapting it to that format, reminders, adapting them to that format. Does that really shape the future? Is that, what do you think?
Probably. It's just you're gonna be very limited in the concepts you can even get across, right? So let's say the basic knowledge every Muslim should know, you could maybe you can only get across 10% of that if it's through these kind of formats.
I was listening to Joe Rogan interviewing Ryan Holiday, Ego is the Enemy and all that stuff, and I think it was that episode they were talking about how even clips being made of podcasts butchers the podcast. Like that's not what podcasts weren't intended to be clipped up. And we do it ourselves, right?
How does it butcher? I don't understand.
Because that was never the intent. Like you can't take a 60-second clip and then make a judgment about the entire conversation, the podcast, without all the nuance that build it up.
Yes.
Like right now, we could take what we're talking about now, put it as a clip, but you wouldn't know that we were talking about role models for the last, and that's where this comes from.
Yeah.
We're talking about role models. Yeah, the context. So, we made a joke about getting someone humming and all that sort of stuff. But you could take that on its own and throw that in there, but you wouldn't know that we're actually talking about the issue.
The benefit would be less, definitely.
The issue, why that even comes. Like, why are we talking about that? Because it's actually a potential thing that happens.
Yeah. But you know what you're saying about like TikTok and the effect it has and all that. Wallahi, every individual has their own responsibility. They have to take responsibility for themselves, and it can be difficult. Maybe you don't even realize what you're lacking because you're so used to that. But you've got to like I said in I think my video about Andrew Tate. It's like, are you really just gonna look up to and follow Andrew Tate because he's edited his videos well? Like if that's only what it takes for you to follow someone, that's like weak. That's weak. Like we should be following substance. Then if there's someone with substance, with great stuff, and it's edited nicely, okay, that's great. That's a bonus, But to follow because it's edited, and that brings me back, I was going to say when we're talking about like rappers and stuff, bro, the stuff those guys were wearing or the cars they had or whatever, it's only appealing because it's filmed very well and edited very well. You know what I mean? Like those kind of reverse edits or the slow motion, it makes it look so sick. And I've seen some videos, I can't remember exactly what it was, where they used those same techniques but with something dumb.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, eating an apple, and they make it like so sick.
Dude, this guy did Netflix documentary about toast, like just a piece of toast, but he edited it and filmed it as if it was like we're about to find out something about this piece of toast. And it's absolutely the way you frame it, no doubt about that whatsoever.
So it's like By the way, I have nothing against taking those techniques and applying it to something of substance, right? I'm not like purist in that way where I'm like, no, we need to make them sit down through a 3-hour lecture with no humming, no nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe in the idea of having a funnel. We get people in gradually, with the taster content, and then bring them in deeper. I believe in that. That's fine. And that's why we can take someone with substance and create clips and create this and create that to draw people in. But for people to only watch clips and think that's like knowledge or that's beneficial or whatever, that's their fault if they think that, I think. And of course, we have to be clear to anyone listening that we don't think that's that beneficial either.
I think it's a human condition anyway, alhamdulillah, through Allah's guidance first and foremost. The fitrah leads us to a particular way. None of that stuff is sustainable. Even the dreaded AT, I call him, his content isn't sustainable. You can't live like that forever. It reminds me of I'll call it toxic femininity, which eventually expires for people that end up wanting to, with regrets of, I wish I actually did have kids when I was younger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or, I see so and so, and all my friends from school are married with kids, and maybe I should have. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So toxic masculinity, if that's what you want to call it, whatever it is, it's not sustainable because the real world doesn't work for you like that. Like if you're a douchebag and you treat the world like a douche and you you're flipping angry with everyone and I'm gonna win. Like I saw a clip earlier that came up and it was like just this guy in a suit walking, right? And then the voiceover was like, I'm gonna win, just watch me. And then that was it. And then I thought, what are the comments saying about this? Not a single person said this is so cringy. Everyone was like, yo, this is sick. Like, oh my God, yes, awesome. Yeah, I'm with you, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to write, dude, this is the cringiest thing I've seen all day.
You're not the target market for that one.
But that kind of content, bro, it's not sustainable. The world doesn't just work for you because you said so. This law of attraction, like, I believe I'm going to succeed, so I'm going to succeed no matter what. I deserve that, and it's going to be mine. That's why the world works. Like, the world will chew you up and spit you out. Like, what are you talking about? No amount of motivational content that you listen to, even though it will psych you up, you're not going to achieve anything by listening to it.
Yeah,
it's just
but I suppose, like,
perseverance.
When that guy falls off a cliff, then people just move on to the next guy who makes another 100%. Video.
100%, dude. 100%. Oh, subhanAllah.
So, in summary, find real role models in real life if possible. Make the effort to link up with people that you wouldn't normally be like very, very close friends with, but just they might have something to share, might be a different perspective.
Be aware that you're a role model for others. You could be looking, like me and you, bro. We could be looking up right now, looking up for role models. We've got 100 people in the group chat.
Yeah. I know. I'm quite aware of that for myself because, like, on paper, it's like, oh, I have my own business. I live in a Muslim country. I blah, 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 whatever, yeah? Married with kids. Even that, for a lot of people, that's like a big deal. So I get that. Even, like, with me, I accept it. That's fine. But even in those headlines and on the paper kind of side of things, you don't know, like, how really I got here or what my life is really like. Or like, okay, so I did those things. Yeah, Allah allowed me to do those things. Like, I might be awful person in my day-to-day life. You don't really know that. You know what I mean? I mean, some of it comes through in the podcast, like how awful I am. But you get the point, you know, like the whole three dimensions of a person.
Yeah. But okay, look at each other, as in our relationship, you know. How often am I chewing your ear off about what you've achieved and how I can, you know, do something similar to that? You know, and then maybe, I mean, I'm not really too aware, but there's often times where you're asking me stuff as well about the way I've done something, the way I've got approached something or whatever, you know, that may pertain to my life experience. You know, I see you as a role model. You might see me as a role model in particular areas or particular arenas. Going back to, you know, wife and kids. I remember the first brother in our circle that got married and moved out and went, and I spoke to you about this before. We both know the brother. And I was like, dude, like, he was like, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't really care. I'm not, you know, I'm dropping out of college. I don't care. I'm going to do it. And we were like, no, blah, 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 don't. Well, that's just stupid decisions because we're just echoing what everyone else told us.
Yeah.
When he went and achieved it, I was like, so
bro, wait, step 3 was what?
Yeah, I was like, bro, so how much do you need to move out? Oh, okay. And he told me, he was like, yeah, if you can achieve this, then you should be all right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thanks, bro. Yeah, I'll try and do that. See what I mean? So yeah, you can hate from the sidelines, but once they achieve it, baby, you are asking them for instructions. So yeah.
Okay, let's end it there then, inshallah. Last question, actually. Last quiz. We have to answer this question.
Aye.
Should there be a Muslim AT?
Oh.
Some people were saying that. Where's the Muslim AT? If we're going to throw AT in the bin, where's the Muslim one? Where's the role models for Muslim men to look up to?
They say that because the algorithm hasn't showed them that.
Okay.
You know, you haven't built yourself on an algorithm. Dude, you know when I discovered like days, and I say days, but shuyukh, that kind of content online, transformed my life. You know, I remember.
But what about success in what about not having a belly? What about being fit? What about business? What about, you know?
You will find them. Go on your social media and just ask people. Put it on your story and ask, how many times do you see it? I've put it up before. I remember putting up, you know, when I was trying to get into the gym and stuff. Brothers, sisters, whatever. Can you send me links to the best, you know, Muslim fitness, whatever instructors you've got? I got a list of like 5, 6, 7 people. Followed them all. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't. Stuck to the ones that I liked and I gained knowledge from. Artist, graphic design, same thing. Brothers, can you share with me, you know, some of the entrepreneurs that, you know, Muslim entrepreneurs? There's some that I follow now. I learn things from daily because they create that kind of content. Like the only reason you're seeing AT is because that's the content you've devoured before. And the algorithm's not showing you the people that would fill that gap for you in a, you know, a legislative manner. I mean,
so what does the Muslim Andrew Tate look like? What do you think?
There isn't one.
Okay.
Because I don't think it. It depends what they mean by that. So, what is the gap specifically they're trying to fill? A toxic Muslim man with a beard. Like, I don't know, but because what is it? Okay, is it the masculinity thing?
No, I think it's just
someone with all of that.
Someone who's successful we look up to. Like, for example, a lot of the criticism people might give of the mainstream du'at is that they're soft on feminism, for example. We want someone who's not PC, who's like successful in the, you know, certain main areas in life that we're trying to be successful in, and they're Muslim. Like, who is that?
I see, but look what happened to him. You know, it was a stupid decision. I saw a clip, funnily enough, of him talking about how not only was all his social media accounts taken. I
saw that. That's nuts.
His banks were closed. His bank accounts.
His Uber account. His Airbnb account.
Yeah.
But that says something, though.
Yeah,
of course. That he pushed a nerve.
There's another book, Making Muslims the Enemy, Islamophobia. When you're a sheikh or whatever, Muslim personality, you want to start spewing stuff like that, well, you've just shot yourself in the foot. Because they've got way more on you before you even open your mouth that they can box you into. Because as soon as they start saying that, oh, he's a hate preacher.
But there are some people who are outspoken about that. They're not banned, right? They don't have the wealth of Andrew Tate, but
I don't think we need him. I think people that say that we need, like, we were fine without him.
Yeah.
We were doing well without him. Yeah. We were learning things without him.
Yeah.
Suddenly when he came out, people thought, oh, I needed this in my whole life. No, you didn't. You were. People were successful before him, and people were successful after him.
Yeah,
like he hasn't. It's not like he's like people treat. And there's a like almost like a prophet complex. People treat him as if he came up on the scene and he just blew open this hole, and like suddenly, things that have been said and never been said before. People have said this stuff before.
Yeah, that's true.
And people have succeeded before in arenas without him, and people were hustle-minded before him. Heck, even Gary Vee was teaching me how to go to garage sales and make money. Do you know what I mean? I didn't need that from anyone. And you know, you can find knowledge on. We went before, didn't we? You said this before about even the Badr Club. You said you would rather buy a course from someone with specific knowledge in a particular field than general knowledge in all the fields.
Yeah.
You know, so if maybe I want to go masculinity, I want to read your book because it's about masculinity. Maybe if I want to learn about finance, I'll go to Sheikh Joe Bradford and learn about the finance element. Or business or whatever. Maybe I want to look about the stock market. I go to there's another brother, I forget his name, that, you know, entrepreneur. I go to Abu Musa. There's people. Go to the specific people, learn that specific knowledge. Just like Sheikh Albani said earlier, when we were talking about it. Go to the specifics, not just the general. Anyone can get on a mic and just say some controversial stuff and sound cool. And then they make them sound like they're an expert in all fields.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
Just
That's
they have an opinion on everything. Yeah, I think the Muslim Andrew Tate is just not, it's not what you want to hear. The people that were saying that, there are people who are successful financially. Like the thing is, the criteria that the Quran might be different to ours. So if we're using true Muslim or Islamic criteria, the ultimate successful Muslim man, yes, he might be as outspoken and non-PC as Andrew Tate. Yeah, fair enough. That's fine. I rate that. And that's one thing I think people are missing. And Muslim men, they want that. They want someone who's not PC. They're fed up of it. And I agree with that. That's fine. So you have people who might be like that. You have people who have money as well. They're good. Maybe they're not tens of millionaires, but they're good. They're doing well. They've got their family. They've got their kids. They've got their Islamic education, maybe. They live in a Muslim country because they're able to, and all of that. This, you could say, is the Muslim Andrew Tate. But they're much more polite. They're much more careful about certain words and hurting people and this and that. But also, that stuff they might not want to be on social media, firstly. Secondly, they're not going to play the algorithm game the way Andrew Tate did as well.
Yeah.
I think the criteria are different when we're Muslims. And also that kind of by default means that we're not going to find them as easily on social media or at all on social media.
You're right. I think maybe when you've said that, it made me think maybe I've misinterpreted that statement of we need a Muslim Andrew Tate.
There are different ways of understanding.
Because I think what maybe some people mean by that is it's not that we need someone to tell me what to do. I think they're saying it as in we need someone who's going to challenge outwardly the status quo, who is going to challenge these norms in society, who is going to say these things so governments can hear, who gets invited on TV and has an interview, who challenges a feminist live on air and gives them gives them a good verbal hiding, so to speak. So that kind of thing, like I think they maybe what they mean. They want a Muslim representative that is just that famous to represent Islam and challenge these things so openly and broadly.
Yes.
And if that's what they mean, then I can empathize a little bit with that desire to see your faith represented in the large arenas. But also, I think that is an arena that is growing. I think IERA get involved in that quite a lot. I think there are up and coming da'is that get involved. I think there are people like
Sheikh Uthman, right? There are people like Khabib a bit. Like that's why people love Khabib, because he's like in Las Vegas with like 100%. All that rubbish going on, and he's like Alhamdulillah and all that.
Yeah, you've got and Khabib comes from a more visible representation, verbal, but not necessarily, with the
debating
the actual,
and all that.
Yeah, the debating. But then you've got like, not to blow his trumpet, but Muhammad Hijab, for example, going on a Jordan Peterson thing, like that was like, oh, sick. Like he's representing such a large. So I think you've got this movement
That's true,
growing.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
Because it didn't exist 10 years ago to that scale.
You're right. Yeah.
You didn't have people going on the most popular channel and representing us in that particular fashion. The people you would see on famous TV channels or whatever were like the local imam of this particular town. It was never the day with this many. So yes, for those that want that, I think we're getting there anyway.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of sacrifice, and you have to put yourself in the crosshairs a lot. And you will be on. It could damage your family, it could damage your personal life, it could, if someone wants to take that mantle, and I do respect the brothers that want to put themselves in the firing line for the sake of representing this religion, but it's growing. Just be patient, we'll get there, because we're getting there.
The interesting thing, actually, the people we just mentioned, what they have in common, from what I understand, they're actually good in a lot of areas. Like Muhammad Hijab seems like he's quite into his fitness, right? He's into his knowledge, he's into his debating, being openly, communicating, but none of them seem to be on the finances front, like leading the way. But maybe that's the price you pay when you focus on, no one's going to be perfect and all-rounded. That's the thing. Maybe according to the non-Muslim standards, Andrew Tate was perfect and all-rounded. From our point of view, not at all, right? But in the real world, like as a Muslim, you know, you might not be all-rounded. You might not have everything going for you, and that's fine. You don't have to be that guy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's more of a, at the end of the day, he was more of an entertainer than anything, right? And I think this society, modern society, just lauds and applauds entertainment and entertainers. Sure. And they are the gods of this era, you know, like they used to have Hercules and Zeus and all that stuff that they used to, well, this is that era's Hercules and Zeus and Aphrodite and all these, you know, you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's it. But we're not like that. That's not our tradition. That's not our culture. So we'll see, inshallah. Look, we're onwards and upwards. And if Allah, you know, and I'm referring to the book again, because I see flashes of this in today's society, you know, the early stages of marginalization and expulsion of Muslims and all that sort of stuff, and your citizenship being stripped, and no, don't wear that hijab, and niqab is banned in France. And I see flashes of that. But at the same time, I see pioneers and I see people rising up to the plate and having those debates and representing Islam on mainstream channels and trying to give that message across. Yeah, we still see silly stuff here and there. I just saw a video of someone prostrating to the Queen's grave. There was someone arrested the other day for making dua in the Saudi, in Mecca, yani, but arrested by the Saudi officials for trying to make dua for the Queen or umrah for the Queen or something. Like, we still see crazy stuff, right? But don't let that
مازال الخير
مازال الخير في الدنيا حبيبي.
اوكي سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.